Congress and he enumerated power to tax. Let's start with the basics. How Congress does the taxing. All bills dealing with money must start in the House of Representatives. This includes tax bills. There are two main types of federal taxing. Federal income tax is a tax imposed on every U.S. citizen regardless the state in which they live. The other is the state tax, but is not the focus here because it is not federally encompassed. The reason this topic is important is because it touches every single person's life. No matter the age, whether they realize it or not, it affects their standard of living. Depending on the yearly income for a person, a tax bracket will be assigned. This bracket will indicate to that person how much federal income tax is due. The current 7 brackets are 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%, 32%, 35%, and 37%.
We are going to cut taxes and simplify the tax code by taking the current 7 tax brackets we have today and reducing them to only 3 brackets: a 10% bracket, a 25% bracket, and a 35% bracket. We're going to double the standard deduction so that a married couple won't pay any taxes on the first $24,000 of income they earn. So in essence, we are creating a zero tax rate. Yes, a zero tax rate for the first $24,000 that a couple earns.
So why does Congress have the power to tax and what is it for? The first tax of this type in America was imposed under President Lincoln and used for the Civil War. Then, in 1913, the 16th Amendment was ratified, which solidified the federal income tax as law.
It is the tax we love to hate. In the 100 years, it has gone from a simple rich man's tax with a top rate of 7% to today's mass tax with a top rate somewhere north of 40%. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, we seem to think it is the worst possible tax, except for all the others.
The final question then is, where does all the money go and how is it used?
So when the money is collected by the IRS, the money goes to the Treasury Department of the United States, and the Treasury is essentially the bank for the federal government. And so the Treasury then will store the money, and the money is then determined on where it's going to be spent by the budget that's passed in the House of Representatives. And when the House determines the budget, I think it's every quarter or every year, that they determine where this money is going to be spent, they tell the Treasury, and then the Treasury Department then cuts the checks and distributes the money to the places that it needs to go.
More specifically, the taxes are split up in the budget among different federal projects. The list of things can be separated into 7 rough categories: Social Security, Medicare, Defense, Health, Income Security, Veterans Benefits, Other, and Education. Here is an example of how taxpayer money is spent.
Madam President, during this budget process, when the Republicans want to expand military spending by some $100 billion, $100 billion over the next 2 years, by far the largest increase in military spending in American history, we will not turn our backs on working families, the elderly, the children, the sick, and the poor. The United States government must do more than greatly expand military spending and give tax breaks to billionaires. Our job is to protect the working families of this country, and that is what the new budget must do. And that means we must have parity between defense and non-defense spending. And that is why this budget, the proposed budget that we are working on now, must address the many crises facing the working families of the United States. That is what the American people want, and that is what we must deliver.